welcome to episode 73 of Toke Signals TV, where we bring you the biggest in cannabis and hemp news stories every week. I'm Steve Elliott, the editor at tokesignals.com, and I'll be guiding you through the news. First of all, let's take a look at a special bud pick of the week. This one was taken at an indoor garden somewhere in Washington, and it shows some beautifully healthy young clones of the Plushberry, White Widow, and Blue Dream strains. Let's do the news now, shall we? In the United States, a report was released this week saying legalized marijuana is the nation's fastest growing industry. This is according to a new report. The legal cannabis industry expanded 74% during 2014, according to this new study from the California-based research and investment firm ArcView Market Research. The market grew from $1.5 billion in 2013 to $2.7 billion in 2014 in combined retail and wholesale sales, according to the data, published in the company's third edition of the State of Legal Marijuana Markets. 5 states, California, Colorado, Washington, Arizona, and Michigan, now have cannabis markets greater than $100 million, according to this report. In the last year, the rise of the cannabis industry went from an interesting cocktail conversation to being taken seriously as the fastest growing industry in America, said Troy Dayton, ArcView Group CEO. At this point, it's hard to imagine that any serious business person who isn't paying attention hasn't spent some time thinking about the possibilities in this market. Colorado became the new epicenter of the industry as the first active adult use market, according to ArcView, and recorded $805 million total combined retail and wholesale sales. I knew it was a historic day, said Tony Savage, who sold Colorado's first legal recreational marijuana as owner and founder of 3D Cannabis Center in Denver. I knew we were making history. I knew the world was watching. I started with one of the small rooms in the basement with lights, Savage said. Whenever I made more money or was able to get a loan, I would add more lights. Now her 3D Cannabis Center is worth an estimated $4 million. Also in the United States this week, a huge DEA program was revealed that is tracing Americans' locations using their license plates. Yep, Big Brother is watching you. The Federal Drug Enforcement Administration has started a huge national license plate tracking program, and civil liberties advocates are not happy. The DEA disclosed very few details, according to the ACLU. These documents were obtained by the American Civil Liberties Union through the Freedom of Information Act. The National License Plate Recognition Program connects DEA license plate reading technology with that of other law enforcement agencies around the United States. The program, which already exists and has existed since 2008, has been kept secret by the DEA, and they are now providing very limited information to the public on its goals, capabilities, and policies. The ACLU in 2012 filed public records information requests in 38 states and Washington, D.C., seeking information about the use of automatic license plate readers. The organization's July 2013 report, You Are Being Tracked, found that technology was being rapidly adopted, all too often with very little attention paid to the privacy risks. In addition to filing public records requests with state agencies, the ACLU also filed FOIA requests with federal agencies, including the DEA. The new DEA records received by the ACLU this month are heavily redacted and incomplete, but they also provide the most complete picture we have yet of the DEA's burgeoning database. The DEA has previously testified that its license plate reader program began at border crossings in the Southwest, and that the agency planned to gradually increase its reach. The new documents reveal more about its growth to other areas. Also, the DEA had previously suggested that, quote, other sources would be able to feed data into its database. We now know about some of the agencies collaborating with the DEA by providing license plate reader data. Usefulness of the documents uncovered by the ACLU's FOIA request is limited by the DEA's decision to provide only documents that are undated or are years old. If the DEA's collection of license information is as extensive as the agency has suggested in its limited comments to legislatures, The public deserves a more complete and comprehensive explanation than the smattering of records we have obtained can provide, according to the ACLU. Now, the ACLU says this program means that the federal government is uniquely positioned to create a centralized database of all drivers' movements around the nation. And in fact, the DEA seems to be moving towards doing exactly that, disturbingly enough. If license plate readers continue to proliferate without restriction, and the DEA holds license plate reader data for extended periods of time, the agency will soon possess a detailed and invasive depiction of our lives, according to the ACLU. Data mining this information, an unproven law enforcement technique that the DEA has begun to use here, only exacerbates these concerns, potentially tagging people as criminals without due process. At the time of one undated slideshow, the DEA had already deployed at least 100 license plate readers across the United States. 7 states are identified as sites for the readers: Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, New Jersey, New Mexico, and Texas. A 2010 document reveals that the DEA had by then already set up 41 plate reader monitoring stations throughout Texas, New Mexico, and California. The DEA is also inviting federal, state, and local law enforcement from around the country to contribute location information to their database. The documents show that local and regional law enforcement agencies in Southern California's San Diego and Imperial counties, and also over in New Jersey, provide data on driver movements to the DEA. Customs and Border Patrol is one federal agency that has shared license plate reader information with the DEA. CBP collects nearly 100% of land border traffic, which means they sent data on more than 793 million license plates to the DEA just between May 2009 and May 2013. And that's according to the agency's response to the ACLU's Freedom of Information Act request. Roadways that the DEA believes are commonly used for contraband transport are targeted by the National License Plate Recognition Initiative, according to the documents. But every highway in the United States is obviously used for contraband transport. One DEA document details steps needed to ensure the plate reading program reaches its goals, of which asset forfeiture is primary. Asset forfeiture abuses have been in the news a lot lately, with both Attorney General Eric Holder reining in the practice, and now a new bill in Congress which would curb the rampant abuses of it. The DEA program seems to mine license plate reader data to identify travel patterns. That's a quote. Who knows what this means, but it sounds as if the federal agency is running all of our license plate reads through a program to predict the likelihood of our committing a crime. Do we automatically fall under suspicion merely for driving down a certain road? Plenty of questions are facing the DEA, but they aren't giving answers. Among things we still don't know are the number of license plate readers currently owned and operated by the agency, and in which states, and how much of your tax money was spent on the damn things. What policies govern the use of these readers? The DEA is not saying. How many reader hits have resulted in arrest and prosecution of crimes? The DEA is not saying. How many license plate hits have not correlated to any alert upon investigation? That is, how many mishits? The DEA is not saying. Which state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies are feeding information to the program? The DEA is not saying. Which additional agencies does the DEA partner with? They aren't saying. How many people are authorized to conduct searches of the DEA database? The agency isn't saying. When programs are secret, we have no way of challenging them or ensuring they conform to our values and our law, said the ACLU. Also in the United States this week, Representative Earl Blumenauer of Oregon grilled the FDIC on blocking financial services to marijuana businesses. Representative Blumenauer, a Democrat from Oregon, on Thursday sent a letter to Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation Chairman Martin Grunberg asking for clarification on what guidance the FDIC provides to banks who offer financial services to marijuana-related businesses, and what role, if any, the FDIC played in M-Bank's decision to abruptly suspend operations in Colorado. Last week, you see, M-Bank publicly announced it would offer banking services to marijuana businesses in Colorado, only to abruptly reverse course a week later. A Denver Post article from January 26 cites industry insiders familiar with the situation, claiming that the FDIC stepped in to warn M-Bank executives that their actions were, quote, too risky. If this assertion is accurate, Representative Blumenauer, who founded a marijuana working group in Congress, is demanding answers as to why this is the case. Blumenauer is leading the effort in Congress to reform our outdated federal marijuana laws, which includes banking regulations. Having the FDIC clarify how it assesses risk and gives guidance, and how that aligns with guidance given by the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Department of Treasury, is important if we're going to have a stable and transparent financial system that provides much-needed banking services to marijuana businesses, Congressman Blumenauer said. In Washington State this week, we learned that a marijuana vending machine is coming to Seattle. Seattle area medical marijuana patients will soon be able to buy their cannabis from a vending machine. It's the first age-verifying, climate-controlled, self-service dispensary, according to American Green, the manufacturer of the Zaz marijuana machine. This machine is scheduled to debut on Tuesday, February 3rd at Seattle Caregivers, a medical marijuana dispensary at 1207 South Jackson Street in Seattle. Marijuana flowers, edibles, and other merchandise will be dispensed from the machine after age and identity verification via scanner, according to the company. In Oregon this week, Governor Kitzhaber claimed that home marijuana possession limits are too high. Oregon voters, a whopping 56% of them, approved Measure 91, which legalized marijuana up to half a pound of it at home in Oregon. But now Governor John Kitzhaber has apparently decided he knows better than voters. And on Tuesday, he indicated he might ask the legislature to set lower limits. Kitzhaber claimed he had many concerns about the voter-approved initiative, questioning the logic of allowing adults to possess up to 8 ounces of cannabis at home, yet just 1 ounce in public. The amount you can actually grow in a home grow operation seems to me to exceed the amount that you're supposed to have legally, Kitzhaber said. I don't know how you enforce that. Kitzhaber did not say what kinds of possession limits he'd like to see. Possession limits were deliberately set higher at home to allow adults to grow their own marijuana and to make concentrates and edibles, according to the backers of Measure 91, which legalized marijuana in Oregon. Just like home brewing of beer and the home making of wine, you need to have reasonable rules for personal cultivators and hobbyists who want to produce their own marijuana, said Anthony Johnson, chairman of New Approach Oregon, who sponsored the 2014 initiative. Johnson said Measure 91 allows adults to have 4 plants, which he said is what many growers believe they need to produce a reliable supply of cannabis. He said the possession limits in the measure, quote, reflect the kinds of amounts growers are likely to see. But State Senator Jenny Burdick, a Democrat from Portland, co-chair of a special legislative marijuana committee, said she had concerns about diversion of marijuana to the black market. We need to take our best shot at setting the right limit, said Burdick. She said she is also working on a bill that would prohibit people from growing marijuana at home if they were ever caught selling it illegally. In a move that medical marijuana activists in Oregon's northern neighbor, Washington State, have been predicting for months, Governor Kitzhaber also questioned whether the Oregon Health Authority should continue regulating medical marijuana separately from recreational weed. Washington's legislature, as we speak, is trying to fold in medical marijuana patients into the expensive, problem-plagued recreational system in that state. You need one regulatory body over both of them, Governor Kitzhaber claimed. One could ask, if you use marijuana recreationally, why do you need a separate medical marijuana statute? Well, Governor, Measure 91 explicitly calls for keeping medical marijuana a separate program, and 56% of your constituents approved that, for starters. It's premature to make drastic changes to the medical marijuana program at this time, especially before we've even implemented the rules for Measure 91, New Approach Oregon's Johnson said. And in Lebanon this week, hashish growers said they're ready to join the fight against ISIS. Hashish growers in Lebanon's cannabis-rich Bekaa Valley said they're ready to join the fight against the Islamic militant group. You see, the Lebanese army and the hash growers, who formerly trained their weapons on each other, now have a common enemy because ISIS has been targeting marijuana crops in Syria. The group recently posted a video online of ISIS militants destroying shoulder-tall stalks of cannabis near the city of Aleppo. With the Bekaa Valley hashish factory of Ali Nasri Shamas in Boudé, Lebanon, just 30 minutes from the Syrian border, that's a big concern, Many area residents fear the wild-eyed jihadis known for their practice of beheading opponents in online videos are coming to the valley. But Shammai said he's ready if they do. This is for ISIS and the al-Qaeda-affiliated Nusra Front, he said, showing off a 2-foot-long machete. That's not the extent of his arsenal, in case you're wondering. He also has mounted machine guns, mortars, and rocket-propelled grenades, all originally bought to defend his crops from the Lebanese army, but now ready to be turned against ISIS. When ISIS militants attacked a border village between Boudé and the Syrian border back in October, hash farmers joined in to defend it. When we heard they were attacking Brital, I joined the other men going to defend the village, said one man who asked to be called Abbas. Their goal is to put fear in the hearts of people, Abbas said, but for us, ISIS is nothing. His bravado isn't empty. In fact, it's downright understandable. Most hash growers, including both Shamas and Abbas, were members of the militia during Lebanon's 15-year civil war. We fought everyone, Shamas said, the communists, Israel, Hezbollah, the Syrians. We support every village in Lebanon, Shamas said, insisting his fight is no longer just about protecting his hashish. Christian, Sunni, Shia, whatever they are, we'll defend them against these terrorists. And to wrap it up this week, we have a story from Toke Signals. An interesting thing happened when I woke up today. I learned that Facebook had banned this reporter for mentioning the price of legal marijuana in Washington state. That's right. Today, Thursday, January 29th, I received a 30-day ban from Facebook for mentioning the price of legal Washington weed in a comment. What horrible thing did he say? Who did he insult? Asked activist Sherry Sicard, also known as Cannabis Sherry. Nothing and nobody. The offending post merely related the price of legal, medical, and recreational marijuana in Washington state, Sicard said. He was not trying to sell said weed or advertise, merely stating the facts of the going rate in Washington state. In the comment thread to a humorous meme featuring a bug-eyed dog freaking out on $20 a gram weed, the discussion had turned to cannabis prices in various locales. After several others had named the prices for legal, medical, and black market marijuana, I posted, medical dispensary weed runs $8 to $12 here. Legal recreational weed runs $15 to $30. That was enough to get me banned from posting, commenting, or liking for 30 days on Facebook. Now, social media behemoth Facebook is the biggest game in town, outranked in web traffic only by Google, with which it has not coincidentally a thorny relationship. As such, they seem to have become arrogant and controlling. Two possibilities emerge here. Either Facebook has decided to start banning people at the mere mention of marijuana prices, a very unlikely scenario, or someone wanted to silence my complaints about the high price of legal I-502 recreational weed in Washington, so reported the comment out of context and counted on Facebook to be clueless enough to ban me for marijuana sales without even consulting the thread. It seems to have worked spectacularly. While either is cause for legitimate concern, we tend to view Facebook more as a big, dumb beast, barely aware of what's going on, rather than a sinister, sneaky agent of censorship. But we've been wrong before. See you next week. Stay lifted.